Hi, my name is Jason Hong. I am sales manager with JenniferSoft. Today I would like to give you a presentation about our APM solution Jennifer. I would like to cover Jennifer's features, Jennifer's product positioning, and also answer any questions or concerns that you might have about Jennifer. Before we discuss Jennifer in depth, I would like to first of all go over what APM is. APM stands for Application Performance Management. APM is an overall practice of performance analysis about the application services through real-time monitoring, problem determination, prediction, and prevention of future performance problems. We at JenniferSoft believe that an APM solution must have 4 basic items within itself to be effective. First of all, an APM solution must be real-time oriented. It must be able to do performance monitoring in real time. Secondly, the application performance management solution must be able to do problem diagnosis and also do root cause analysis of the problem. Thirdly, it must be able to do in-depth tracing and tuning of the application. And also, last but not least, it must be able to store the performance data to be used for future prediction and prevention of problems. So why do we need to use an APM solution? The reason can be found in this diagram over here. In the 70s and 60s, when a lot of the servers and a lot of the programs were very simple, most of the performance problem was solved by simply adding more resources. As you can see in this diagram over here, a traditional CS platform, a lot of the issues were scattered about. And the solution for these issues was basically the OS and network performance problems. Easy way to resolve these problems was simply to add more resource, add more memory, add more CPU, and that was how the problems were resolved. In today's age, however, because of the increase in complexity of the systems and the applications, most of the problems come from the web system itself, in the middlewares, web application servers, and the actual application code portion of the systems. In order to actually resolve these problems, we cannot simply increase the resources such as CPU or memory. The problem has to be resolved by making the actual applications more efficient, getting rid of the bugs, and improving the actual code itself in the application. And because of that reason, an APM solution is necessary. So what is Jennifer? As I've said before, Jennifer is a performance management solution, application performance management solution for J2EE platform. As we have seen in this diagram over here, Jennifer covers all 4 elements that an APM solution must have. It is a real-time performance monitoring solution. A lot of the APM solutions out there claim that they're real-time, but in most cases, those solutions are in real-time in the sense that they take averages of the monitoring data in either seconds or minute basis. Jennifer is the sole solution that actually monitors the performance data per second basis. Secondly, Jennifer has the capability to do problem determination and performance bottleneck analysis. Also, Jennifer is able to do capacity planning and workload analysis. It is able to do application SQL tuning and query, SQL query tuning. And one of the Jennifer's powerful feature is that it has an integrated performance dashboard that is very effective in monitoring and resolving performance problems. Here is the product positioning of Jennifer. As you can see here in this diagram, Jennifer is used for combined performance and system load tests, integrated system opening tests, and monitoring of the live operations. Jennifer is not used for code development or measurement and testing during the development stages. Rather, it is used for live system mostly, to monitor a live system in a real-time setting. Here's Jennifer's scope. Jennifer is an APM solution. It covers basically the web log analyzers, Java or J2E based profilers, and also the backend Tuxedo and CICS legacy systems. Jennifer structure. Jennifer is composed of 4 large structures. There's the Jennifer server that sits in the central area. Jennifer server is responsible for receiving the data collected by the agent. It processes them and it puts it in a display format that is displayed in the Jennifer client console. It also produces reports, and problem determination analysis is done from Jennifer server here. Jennifer agent is the portion that is installed on each web application server. Agent's job is to grab the data and send it to the Jennifer server. The Jennifer repository is a separate database. Their Derby database is typically packaged with Jennifer, but any kind of relational or third-party database such as Oracle or SQL can be also used. The repository acts as a database where all the data are collected, and historical trends, analysis, and reporting can be done from the database over here. Jennifer's client console is where the administrators or users will be able to view the data. Jennifer uses the web browser and the Java applet as its basic engine for the client. That means that you don't actually need to install a client in a separate computer. As long as you have an internet access, Jennifer client can be viewed from pretty much anywhere. Integrated dashboard. Let's move on to the major features of Jennifer. Very noticeable feature of Jennifer is integrated dashboard. This is the screen that you will see as soon as you enter Jennifer. It provides comprehensive data that is needed for monitoring, performance monitoring, in one single, very easily viewable view. As you can see over here, you can see this active service in real time for each web application service. You can also see CPU utilization, some business information such as today's concurrent users, today's arrival rate, and our special feature XView, which I'll get into in more detail later on. XView basically shows the transactional information in a scatter graph format. And there are many different information that you can view here. Some of the major benefit or advantages of Jennifer dashboard is that it is the dashboard layout is very customizable. Here's an example of customized user-defined Jennifer dashboard. As you can see, the graph type that are available for each module, there is a total of about 16 different graph types. And pretty much every single portion of Jennifer can use the graph. The user needs to basically just select the right one that they want to use. And each module in the dashboard can be also, you can actually dive deep into it by just simply clicking on each module. Here are some examples of user-defined dashboard that are currently being used by some of our customers. First example of user-defined screen. This is an example of the Unix machines. This is a client of ours who decided to use our dashboard. As you can see, in each column there are different Unix machines. The top portion shows the CPU usage. The next one is a CPU run queue, network usage, disk usage, and so on. A second example over here, you can see that this is a user-defined dashboard that shows a transactional pattern of the J2EE system. On the left side over here, you can see an alert panel for master alert and control, and it shows important information such as the status of the web server, web application server processing status, CPU usage per DB, and disk usage. This monitoring system is designed so that you can check the problem of the process operations. Jennifer's dashboard also boasts an intuitive monitoring of the active services. The graph that you just saw over there is basically this module right here. The graph basically counts the number of real-time active services for each web application. And each graph is also color-coded, so that you can easily tell whenever a number of active services it goes over a certain threshold. In this case, you can see that a color green is indicated for 0 to 1, purple 1 to 3, pink 3 to 8, and red 8 or more active services that are taking place right now. And here's a very dramatic example of a system that are having a huge problem. As you can see, almost every single web application server here is bright red. That means that there are a lot of active services that are in queue. Detailed trace of active services. You can go from the dashboard itself and simply double-clicking on each web application server. You can actually dive deep into the actual stack trace. You can actually see the stack trace information over here. And from here, you can also double-click on each item to actually get even deeper information. Using this, an administrator can quickly drill down from the monitoring screen to a more detailed screen, to even more detailed screen within a matter of seconds, making Jennifer a very effective tool in quickly identifying and eliminating problems. Response time scatter graph is a major feature that is very unique to Jennifer. I don't think you'll be able to see anything like this in any other products that are out there. Typical traditional response time graph, and basically you can find this type of graph in pretty much any solution. And typical traditional response time graph is usually done in a line graph. But in this case, the only information that you will get from this type of graph is that you can only get the average response time from this graph, and that's basically all you get. In our case, we actually use scatter graph to graph our response time. Each dot that you see over here is individual transactions that are taking place, and with this information, you can actually identify and categorize each problem by the pattern that these dots create. As you can see over here, you see a horizontal pattern over here, a vertical pattern, a horizontal pattern over here, and a matrix-like pattern over here. And you can actually identify and classify certain preference problems using this type of scatter graph. In this case, a horizontal line might indicate that the web application server is having some sort of a timeout problem, where all the transactions are being timed out at a certain time. It looks like it's about 30 seconds over here. A horizontal line might indicate that a database problem is occurring. Maybe there's a database lock and all the transactions are being queued up, and then suddenly at one moment or another, when the lock is released, all the transactions are being processed at the same time. We identify several different types of these patterns, and we do have some publications that explain each patterns. And using this type of graph, a user can quickly look and identify what kind of problem the system is suffering simply by looking at this graph. Jennifer's XView profiling features. From our XView, you can actually drag and grab a series of one or more of these dots. You can actually, and then you can actually get the detailed information about these transactions. As you can see in this example, we selected a bunch of transactions over here, and then a pop-up screen will appear. And each transaction is indicated by a row. It shows some important information like the total elapsed time, CPU time, SQL time, fetch time. Basically, these time combined together will form an elapsed time. In this example on the very top, as you can see, the elapsed time is 948 milliseconds. And about 600 milliseconds was spent in SQL. From here, you can determine that the majority of the inefficiency of the transaction is actually occurring from running SQL. Using this information, you can drill down into even more detailed log and actually find the SQL script that took that long. And our tool will be very effective in query tuning in this matter. Jennifer's XView response time area graph is also a very useful tool. It basically puts the XView and puts the area graph portion of it so that it measures how much time it was the process took in each of the 4 portions that you see over here. But the top dark blue indicates the total average response time. The sliver of light blue over here indicates the SQL fetch time. The huge red portion over here indicates the SQL execution time. And the light green sliver that you see on here is the CPU elapsed time. In most cases, you'll find that the SQL is the one that takes the most time out of all these 4. System and WASP resource monitoring. Jennifer is able to monitor several different types of resources, resources such as system and JVM CPU usage, JVM heap memory, Java objects, TCP/IP sockets, files, JDBC connections, failed connections. Is able to do failed connections, statement and result set, as well as thread dump and trace of SQL exceptions during runtime. Let's go ahead and explore some of these items in more detail. First of all, JDBC connection status monitoring. Jennifer provides a module to monitor JDBC connection, and you can actually, by double-clicking this module, you can actually drill down into what is happening with the JDBC connection. It shows some detailed information about the connections as you see in the list down here. JDBC resource leakage tracing. Same deal over here. It shows Jennifer monitors whether or not a JDBC connection set is closed or not, and if necessary, Jennifer can be set to kill the connections as necessary. Another example you see over here where you can drill down from one screen into more detailed screen simply by clicking on the module. Memory leakage tracing. Jennifer can also track down any kind of memory leakage that may be happening. Same deal over here. You can actually drill down into the actual stack trace of the collection objects simply by clicking on the module. It also shows the application name, so that if a specific application is causing performance and memory leakage, this module will be able to show that as well. TCP/IP socket and file access tracing. Jennifer can monitor which files are being opened and which TCP/IP sockets are being opened, and they can be killed if the Jennifer can be commanded to kill these as well. Same deal over here as before. More detailed information can be obtained simply by clicking from the dashboard into the pop-up screens. Service dump. Jennifer can provide active service dump whenever necessary. Also pop-up screen. You can drill down into the detailed information simply by clicking on the dashboard. Problem detection and alert. Jennifer identifies 49 different types of errors, and they can be, and here are some of the examples that you see over here about the errors in the session list. And it also classifies the errors in 3 different levels: critical, error, and warning. Using these different alert levels and error types, Jennifer can identify, categorize, and also send out alerts to the administrators using the email or SMS alert systems. And this is very important function. Our administrators cannot stay on their desk 24/7 as long as they have their computer with them, or they have some sort of a cell phone or some sort of an SMS messaging system with them. They can be paged about any kind of problem at any time. Jennifer has a very powerful application SQL query and tracing and tuning function, and the XView comes into play again. Whenever you detect some of the transactions that are having very high response time, as you see some of the transactions over here, you can simply drag and grab these transactions, and you can actually find the actual SQL queries that is causing the problem. Whenever you have any kind of SQL problem, you can always simply get down this screen right here, copy this SQL script, send it to your DBA, and your DBA should be able to work on it right away. Statistical analysis and reporting function. Because Jennifer has its own database repository, it can hold as much historical data as possible. Typically, the amount of data it holds is about 30 days. But as long as you have space, Jennifer can hold as much data as possible. And within Jennifer, it has a very powerful reporting function, utilizing the 20 or odd different types of graph and different table types. User can customize their own reports and using some scripts and the graphs and the module provided within Jennifer. Jennifer also provides a lot of important business data that can be used for management and business use. Some of the important data can be concurrent users, active users, visit users per day, transactions per hour, and so on and so forth, as well as the resource data, which is important for your IT management. As I've said before, Derby is what is typically packaged with Jennifer. Derby is very straightforward, however very powerful database. Also, it is packaged with Jennifer because it's relatively cheap to implement. However, if you guys would like to use Oracle or SQL or any other type of relational database, Jennifer supports them as well. So Jennifer's strength. Why Jennifer? Why is Jennifer such a great product? First of all, Jennifer is real time. And as I mentioned this before, a lot of competitive solutions out there claim to be real time, but most of them are not actually 100% real time. Jennifer is definitely a true real time solution where every single data is collected and communication between the agent and server happens in every second interval. Secondly, the response time scatter graph is the only feature. It's a feature that is only unique to us, and you will not be able to find this kind of feature anywhere else. You can use our XView to drill down from the actual transactional view down to the detail within the transaction. Very, very good for SQL tuning, as well as looking for any kind of file opening problems or socket problems. Thirdly, very user-friendly and customizable dashboard. You can see pretty much all information in one screen. You can expand each module to be very large if necessary. Take them out, put them in, make a customizable dashboard for managers, make one for administrators, or perhaps the DBAs. Very customizable indeed. And lastly, very easy and powerful to use. A lot of solutions out there that I've tried is very cumbersome. You have to move from one module to another. It is very hard to find relationship between each data because they are so apart. But in this situation, you can actually take the right module, put it in the right sequence, so that you can actually move from one problem to the actual diagnosis of problem in a seamless view. So, 3 reasons why Jennifer is better than others. To say better may be a little bit of a strong statement, but it is something that we definitely believe. First of all, our solution is very lightweight. There are some very excellent competing APM solutions out there. However, the feedback that I get from a lot of the customers that I spoke to and a lot of the engineers that I spoke to is that a lot of the APM solutions out there are very heavy and they're very resource intensive. Now, APM solution is supposed to make a web system faster, more efficient. Now, if it's putting too much load into the target server, then it's not really accomplishing its real purpose. Jennifer was specifically designed with its own lightweight stack trace technology so that it imposes very little, very minimal amount of system load. From the research that we have done with our customers, typical system load was about 47% in our case. Once again, response time scatter graph, a feature that is only available with us, very effective and efficiently identifying and resolving problems. And we take service level approach to actually look at our data. A lot of solutions out there actually are very resource intensive, and their approach is to look at the resources and determine the problem from that way. We don't think that's the right way to actually identify the problem. What we want to do is we want to actually look at it from the end user perspective, look at the symptom and dive from that end. Also, we provide very important business data like the visit user and concurrent user throughput and response time. Some of the benefit of the Jennifer. First of all, Jennifer dashboard, very comprehensive, very easy to use, very customizable. Performance problem resolution. Using a progressive system monitoring, Jennifer can detect current problems and provide a solution, and also provide a prevention measure so that future problems can be dealt with. System downtime minimization. Once a performance problems occur, Jennifer can provide immediate support, immediate solution, so that the downtime of the system can be minimized. Quantified evidentiary data. All data can be collected, stored, and it can be processed for reporting purposes. Also, it can provide statistical and evidentiary data for any kind of system planning and tuning. End-to-end monitoring. Although Jennifer specializes in specifically web application server, and it provides very in-depth information about the web application server, it does have component within itself that allows the users or administrator to take data from the neighboring systems, such as the web server or the backend servers, and use those data and put it in the Jennifer module. So Jennifer does not actually take data, or it does not actually dig up data from different modules, but it has the capability to take them in and put it in our reporting function and process them as well. And end result is customer satisfaction, with downtime minimized, performance problem diagnosed in real time, and also with additional features like the peak load control, which actually limits the number of transactions coming in if the system cannot handle it. Users will be able to gain customer service and satisfaction. So Jennifer's roadmap. Right now, Jennifer's in Jennifer 3.0 since 2006. Our company is actually very new. Jennifer was first released in 2005 with Jennifer 2.0, and within a couple of years, we have pretty much dominated the Korean market, now expanding our market territory into Japan, United States, and rest of the world. By this year, we would like to introduce Jennifer 4.0, which will have all the powerful functions and capabilities that Jennifer 3.0 has, but we will be adding a lot of adapters for back-end systems, so that we grow more as a true end-to-end solution. And also, here's an example of Equalus, which is a 3D solution of ours. It takes the same data that Jennifer provides, and it displays in a very graphical 3D format. Equalus is not developed for actual operational use or administrative use. Rather, it was designed to be more of a feature wall art, technological art. An example, a symbol, if you will, of what Jennifer stands for. We are planning to actually introduce this product to some of our large clients so that they can hang Equalus into the knock room walls and sort of use it as a large main board or mainstream dashboard. So check us out about that. Jennifer supports all kinds of operating system and web application server, pretty much whatever that is out there. Namely, IBM WebSphere, VA WebLogic is something that is pretty much used worldwide. But we also support many of the smaller. Apache Tomcat is something that is used in a lot of small businesses. So those who do not need a enterprise solution like IBM WebSphere or WebLogic can still take advantage of Jenifer. We also cover pretty much every single type of operating system. Importantly, IBM z/OS, so that those of you guys who are out in financial industries, I'm sure your organization uses z/OS. Jenifer does support z/OS. Okay, thank you. That is the end of our presentation. If you guys have any questions or concern, please contact me. My name is Jason Hong. You can get my contact information down here. Thank you very much.